exporting if you ever see anything that mentions locations. This is part of where it gets those locations. And if you ever view a photograph in your library and you see a little pin on it that looks like a pin, it means it will show up on the map if you were to view the map. Also, if you ever look in metadata panel, the same panel where you might find the dimensions of your image and other things, if you see an entry in this category right here called GPS, that also means it should appear on the map. I'm relatively new to using the map feature in Lightroom, so I'm not like a mega expert on everything on it. I'm just starting to get all my locations on there and very much enjoying being able to find things quickly, especially when I'm in areas where the names are not easy to remember. For instance, in Iceland, the names of a town can be like 12 or 15 letters, and it's like all consonants. You know, it's like, it's crazy. And it's really hard to talk about where to go in Iceland. But get those same images geotagged on a map, and I can say, go to southern Iceland. Right over here will be the, you know, and maybe take a screenshot of that map. Then it's much easier to communicate what's going on. So today we've talked about importing our pictures. We've also talked about organizing them a little bit. We'll get more into that in a little while. And about adjusting them. But all those adjustments we've applied are applied in metadata, meaning it's just text added to your picture. We need to do something special if we want to give these pictures to somebody else, especially if that someone else is not using Adobe products to open their images. Instead, they're using email, or they're using a web browser, or they're using a word processor, database, anything other than Photoshop and Lightroom in general. And to do that, we need to export our images. When you export an image, all you need to do is select the image. Here's one, a light painted image from Mono Lake. I want to go give it to a friend, so what I do is I go up to the File menu, and that's where we're going to find a choice called Export. Or, as an alternative, there's just a button down here called Export. When I click that, this will come up. I'm going to collapse all the different categories that are in here so that you just see their headings. This dialog box is one that I do not enjoy being in. I don't use it commonly. I'm not in it on a weekly or even monthly basis, but I'm glad it's there. The thing that I do in this dialog box is not export my files, but create presets of settings that I can use to export my files. And after I make a preset in here, it's going to be very easy and fast to export my files. And I just have to drudge through this a little bit first to prep it. So let's take a look at what we have. First at the top, where are we going to export it to? A hard drive or email? In general, I'm going to say hard drive. Where would I like to export it? To a specific folder? Why don't we make it so, in this case, it'll be a specific folder, and I'll click the little button on the right here and choose my folder. I'm going to choose the desktop. I just typed Command D once this was open. That usually is the shortcut for going to your desktop. I'll choose Choose. Okay, it's set for desktop. I can have it put it in a subfolder. Sometimes I do that. One preset that I have is for saving out a small version of my images that I might use for stitching a panorama where I don't need the high-res ones, or where I just want to see, is it worth stitching the high-res? Because some of my panoramas are huge. That one in Africa is 119 inches wide. That's a lot of data. And I would rather test that panorama first with something that's going to be much smaller. And so that's one instance where I might say put it in a subfolder, and I would call this something like Panos or Stitch Me or whatever would remind me, instead of being loose on my desktop. I also have another one that is for like my iPhone. I have it where I can have a preset, I can quickly export from my iPhone, and I have a specific folder that gets synced with my iPhone. So that whatever I put in that folder, the next time my phone syncs with my laptop, it copies the images over. And that way I can very quickly do it. So I would just go over here and tell it a specific folder, and I would go point it at the folder that syncs to my iPhone. So just give you some instances when you might want to do that. But I'll make this just go on a raw